External Affairs Minister Ms Peiris responded to a UN call for an international probe on the government's final offensive against separatist Tamil Tigers last year, saying that the UN Human Rights Commissioner Navi Pillay has no right to call for such a probe on alleged war crimes. Professor Peiris insisted that repeated calls for international probes violate the basic values of the UN Charter.
This course of action is unfair. It is even oppressive. It is as though some people will not rest until they are successful in harassing Sri Lanka. These matters have been taken up. The relevant organs of the United Nations, which are the proper bodies to pronounce on these matters, have already reached a conclusion. Why not accept that conclusion? Why is it necessary to go on and on? Once, twice, three times? How much would be regarded as enough? We think that is grossly unfair. So this attitude of pursuing, of hounding out Sri Lanka ad nauseam is, we think, not only unfair by Sri Lanka, but that course of action is repugnant to the basic values and the principles that are enshrined in the United Nations system.
Yesterday, Pillay renewed a call for an independent international probe into the government's final offensive against LTTE. However, Peiris stressed that the external panel, which will be appointed shortly by Ban Ki-moon, is totally different from what Pillay wants to appoint.
Navi Pillay, as I understand her, is calling for an international probe. She wants an international inquiry. That's not what Mr. Ban Ki-moon is saying. Mr. Ban Ki-moon is saying something quite different. He is saying that he would like to appoint a group of experts to advise him, to advise the Secretary General, not to probe allegations of war crimes. So I think there is a significant difference between the posture of Navi Pillay and what the Secretary General of the United Nations is saying in New York.
Meanwhile, following a meeting with Professor Peiris, US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has commended Sri Lanka's decision to establish a Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission to examine the conflict's conclusion, Professor Ms Peiris told reporters.
The leadership of the United States unequivocally accepted our position that this commission must be given the space to begin its work without impediment. Of course, we recognize that we can learn from the experience of other countries, but at the end of the day, the solutions that we devise and put in place must be suited to the circumstances in our own country. In the response of Secretary Hillary Clinton, who said, by all means, we think that this commission has potential. She said it holds promise. In her public comments, she said it holds promise. We expect it to deliver. It must deliver. And our support is available.
The United States lifted its travel warning on Sri Lanka last week as a vote of confidence in the country's security and future.